find it. Yeah, it doesn't say anything.
So this is close enough to the time we start. I'm gonna start. I have fun doing this. This is my first slideshow at the Celebration show.
Yay!
Or at any show. I was going to do it at the Evolve Expo, but we had so much snow that nobody came. But it was a good show in a lot of other ways. You did? That's right! On Sunday?
Yeah.
Crazy! I thought only the people that had to be there were crazy enough to drive in the snow. It was...
Yeah, we thought the only ones there.
You were. You were. Well, they preempted my show. So what they have, in here, I guess I'm supposed to be talking about manifesting abundance. And that's part of what I'll talk about today. But this is going to be the show that I was going to do at the Evolve Expo. It's all about you and all about what we're doing here as human beings. But before I get into talking about the geometric patterns that nature uses to create this dimension and that we can use to help shift our lives and our consciousness and achieve more health and well-being, I first want to pose 3 questions to you. And I'd like you to really take these to heart as just questions we always bring up from time to time in our life and really ask basically, who are we? Who am I? And, why am I here? Not just here on the planet, but even today, here at Celebration, here in this room. And then the question really becomes, how is this moment important in supporting me in manifesting my purpose? And as you get in touch with who you are, you start discovering we all have such incredible purposes for being here in a body right now. And part of it is to feel the love that we are and make that connection. And therein lies the crux of the whole matter. Because to start with, I'm going to talk to you about who you are. You're like this iceberg. And I don't mean you're cold, I don't mean you're big. I mean the part of the iceberg on top, that's the 10% that's seen. And that's this body that's sitting here right now. Because 90% of you is unseen in those higher realms. Or those realms where your emotions are. Those realms where your thoughts are. The mental body. The realms that go on and on up to soul, up to source. That's all of us, that part that we don't see. And so I really want to turn it upside down because we're just, this little part down here, and all of this, the largest part of ourselves, is still the part that we're looking to discover. And yet scientists today, and physicians, and so many people in the physical realm, they keep focusing just on this little part down here, saying that, all your thoughts generate your reality. All your feelings generate your reality. Well, they modify your reality. They modify what you're experiencing. But all this stuff going on here doesn't generate all of this. Right up at the top, that soul, that's immortal. That's forever. That's the part of you that keeps coming in and trying on new clothes, trying on new things, trying on different bodies to discover what is it I can do to grow, to learn more about the whole thing. How can I bring through more love? And this is a slide that is one perspective of these different layers. And see, way down here, this is like 7 layers. This is the Ledbetter chart. There's a lot of different charts. Often, they show things layered. And we're always at the bottom layer. Like here, the physical, it's made up of 7 components. And the bottom 3 are solid, liquid, and gas. That's us. We're solid, we're liquid. Gas, more or less, sometimes. We breathe in a lot. Yeah, we can be pretty gaseous. Excuse me, I shouldn't go there. So that even though we're here in this physical dimension, and we are in an animal body, really, it's a body that was born and it's going to die, and yet we have a very special creation here. It's something that is really connected to the divine and has the option to bring the highest levels of energy and consciousness all the way through into this dimension. You can bring through that love on a divine level into the physical. That's our opportunity. You see, here we are, we live in a 3-dimensional reality. That means we have an x-axis, we have a y-axis, like this, and we have a z-axis. That's our depth, our thickness. Now, a man in a book, like this small man in a book, he's only got 2 dimensions, an x and a y. So that means if the man in the book were standing here in front of us, and when he turns to his left to look at the wall, he disappears. Because he doesn't have any thickness. There's nothing there. So we have to realize that's what goes on in 2D, when you're looking at a 2D person. And I'm talking about 2D because we're in 3D. It helps us understand how it all works. So now, if we want to communicate with him, say we draw a circle, and what does this 2D man in his 2D world see? No, he sees a line. Because he's right there with it. That's all he sees. So we draw a triangle. What's he going to see? A line. We get frustrated. We're trying to communicate with him. We draw a square. And all he can see is a line. You see, isn't this interesting? These are all 2-dimensional forms. The only way you can understand what's going on really in the 2nd dimension, in 2D, is from your position as a 3D being. Because you can stand up and you can look down and see what's going on there. And that jump from 2D to 3D is as big a jump as going from 3D to 4D to 5D to 6D to 7D, 7 dimensions where soul is. I mean, all these different dimensions. And, it's so hard for us to understand because we're like the 2D man. We only see this part of our reality. And that's one of the things that we really search for when we're looking to meditate and move ourselves to a higher part of our being. So we can start to appreciate this reality from another dimension, another level. Do you understand what I'm saying? How important that is? And that the only way you're really going to understand yourselves in this reality is to start to move to a 5D reality. And that's where we're going. That's the nature of this time in 2012, is that we are wanting to move into, we're not only wanting to, we're being forced into it by the shifts and the energies that are happening on the planet. Now, to put this iceberg into perspective, we have soul at the top, many different dimensions, and then let's talk about the 5th dimension mental and the 4th dimension astral, and here we are in the 3rd dimension, the solid liquid gas again. And so, the mental, this is where your thoughts are, where sound is what allows us to communicate on the mental dimension. And that's why I'm up here flapping my lips, making these funny tones, and a lot of you are going like this. Like, isn't that amazing that we can understand each other? And it's all through these tones, these sounds. And on this level, the astral level, that's where we work with emotions. And sometimes those are the feelings, the emotions that come from the physical body. And when emotions come from the physical body, they all come down to one emotion. And that's the emotion of fear. Because that's what comes with the physical body. And, you know, that's what came with the flight or fight syndrome that protected us and gets all animals out of trouble. But you see, this is like a picture showing, here's where your soul is on the top of this ocean, and it has a lifeline that comes all the way down to where you are. And it's supplying the life force that you are. It's giving you everything. And that's where all our health and our consciousness comes from. And, you know, our well-being, that love that we are, comes from that connection. Now, this guy down here, in order to stay down there at the bottom of the ocean, he has these really big boots that are filled with lead that helps him sink all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. And that's what our emotional body is all about. You see, that keeps us grounded here in this dimension. Otherwise, we're spiritual beings. We pop out of this body. So that emotional body is serving a function. However, it has some drawbacks, and that's what we're going to talk about in a little bit. And as I said before, you know, the soul wanting to send the energy through, and these different places in our body, what's happening in this dimension is things are interfering with this flow, like the electromagnetic pollution, the cell phones, the electricity, everything going on around us, all these computers. It puts a kink, a break into that flow of energy that wants to come in from soul. So the stress that we experience in this world, that blocks the energy from coming through. What? There you are. Oh, I must have gone backwards. Here you are. The negative emotions, that blocks that flow of energy. What goes on with the judgments? You know, cat throws up in the rug, bad. She's got an ugly dress, real bad. You know, all those things, it hurts us more than it does anything in the outside, because it's blocking this flow of energy. And of course, all the toxins that are going on in this environment right now, that you can't escape just breathing the air today. All the fumes, all the things in the food. It's showing up in Antarctica. It's showing up in the pristine mountaintops. There's no way to avoid what's going on. This is part of the modern situation. So, this is a circle. It's the original monad. That's what the followers of Pythagoras called it. And the monad can be understood as one of its manifestations as the torus. Now, the torus is like a donut. And I should have brought my donut to show you. Because it turns on the sides and turns in toward the middle. This is something that's called a black hole. And it spins in this axis, the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis all at the same time. And it does it in 6 components. So these two sides are spinning in this dimension, or in this x-axis. The top and bottom are spinning in the other axis, and as it goes through the center, it's spiraling in this axis. And that's why it stays together. That's why this is the shape that scientists used to think was a rare shape. Literally, that's the shape of a black hole. But it's more than that. It's the shape of your energy field. It's the shape of the energy field of the planet. It's the shape of the energy field of the galaxy. And then it goes all the way down to the shape of every little particle going around each atom of your being. What we call electrons are this toroidal shape, bringing energy in and taking energy out. Constantly creating and discreating it. So you're constantly being created by the higher dimensions. They're bringing energy in to your being constantly. That's what supports us, that higher connection. And that's one of the difficulties. Again, it's breaking down in this dimension. Because we're at the depth of density. We're about as dense as you can get. And that's what Source, that's what God has in mind for us. To be able to bring love, to bring consciousness into a level of density where it hasn't gone before. A level of density that is controlled by the emotional body, by the hormones, the things that drive this animal body, for us to overcome that and allow the love to come through, allow the consciousness to come through. That's the opportunity. And that's where we do our creation from. That's where we create abundance. That's where we create joy. From that place within us. And now the question is how to get there into that space. And so here, like I was saying, this is the shape of the energy around the planet, the magnetic field, and around every human being. Now, women have a tendency to move energy down and out like this. That's why you're more in touch with your hearts, more in touch with your feelings. Men move energy the opposite direction. They move it up. They're more in their heads. They're more connected mentally. That's why when you're talking to a man, you say, tell me what you're feeling, and he's going, well, let me think about it. And you say, no, you're not supposed to think. You're just supposed to feel. And it's hard. Because we have a way of processing things up here. It's just the way the energy moves. We're just moving energy differently. And I've created things where you can shift the energy in someone's body so you can be more in your heart. So women can move energy more to their heads and find out, it's a whole different way of being. It's the totality of who we are, of the way we work together to discover that in yourself. And so what's going on right now is NASA has a project called THEMIS. A little hard to read right on that crack. THEMIS. And what they've been doing is they've been measuring the electromagnetic field of the planet. And you see this electromagnetic field on the planet, what they're finding is it's spreading out. It's getting bigger. So what that means is the sun produces solar waves. It also, the center of the galaxy that the Mayans referred to as Hunahpu is putting out particularly large bursts of energy at this time in our creation. And what's going on is the sun redirects that energy. Even though some of you work with astrology, I'm sure you know how the planets have different effects on us. Well, the sun modulates every planet. Everything goes to the sun. The sun is our Godhead. The sun is really the source of more than just life on this planet. It's the source of all the energies coming in. And what's going on right now, with this field expanding, more energy is coming into the planet and more energy is coming into us. This is why more stuff has been going on. This is why time seems to be speeding up. Because more energy means more things are happening, we measure time by the number of events that happen in a day, and it seems like between the energies coming in, the use of computers, and simultaneously having your phone and your iPad and all these different things on, we have so much stuff coming in that it is creating a great deal of change. And the difficulties are when you block that flow of energy, it's going to take you to the lowest point where things need to be worked on. You see, to manifest change on any level, like here's a solid, you bring in energy, solar energy, you can turn it into a liquid. Remember, we're solid, liquid, and gas. So energy transforms solid to liquid. You bring in more energy, and you transform the liquid into a gas. And that's what's happening to us right now. We're having energy that's wanting to come through us, and wherever there's resistance, wherever there are issues within us, that's where the energy is going to play out so that we learn what's going on. Like, you have a problem somewhere, your body's getting your attention, saying it's not flowing here, it's not working. And there's more energy trying to come through, so it's making it even more challenging these times right now. Do you have some sense of why we're going through all this stuff we're going through more than ever before? I mean, doesn't that seem like what this last year was about? And the potential is for it to keep building up. 2012 wasn't a magic date that ends on December 12th, or 21st. It's just something that is the sign of the times we're in. So, in the Bible, in Genesis 1:27, it says, God created man in his own image. Okay, now, if we have our little 2D man, this is his idea of God. God can't be more than a line. He's the perfect line. It's the line that never ends. It's the infinite line. That's the 2D man. So we're 3D beings. But our understanding still is from this 3D perspective. But the way the energy comes through, it's not that God created man in such a way that there's a big one of these up there and there's a little us here, but it's through the way that Source creates, which is through geometry. It's working with these proportions, all the exact angles of the body that can measure each, the digit on my first finger. This, from the little one to the big part, is in this same phi ratio relationship. My whole hand to that finger is in this relationship. My hand to my elbow and is in that same relationship. And that's Leonardo da Vinci's famous drawing where it's showing all these proportions, the way the body's created, the way plants are created, the way animals are created. All crystals work with different geometries, but everything in this creation is based on particular patterns, on particular rhythms, on particular cycles, on particular frequencies. And when we talk about the frequency, often we talk about how everything is just a certain frequency of light. You see, light creates matter. Matter doesn't create light. That's the problem of thinking that everything comes from this little being at the bottom of the iceberg that I was showing you. The light that's up there in the higher parts of that iceberg, those parts are the part that are creating matter. See, light matters, matter doesn't. Think of it that way. And sacred geometry. When we work with sacred geometric forms, like this is Metatron's cube. I'm going to have to do a whole thing sometime very soon talking about Metatron's cube, because whenever you see it, you can Google it now and you'll get 90,000 responses that all show a 6-pointed star inside another 6-pointed star, and it's all with little circles over each one of those points. But that's only one view of Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is a three-dimensional form. It's a three-dimensional form like this. And you see, when I take this three-dimensional form and I get it in the right angles, you see there it is. There's that one below. And then I can go to here. And you see how there, it's this one up here. And then I can go to there. So you see, it has three different perspectives, one form. That's the nature of every single three-dimensional thing, an X, a Y, and a Z axis. And when you're trying to work with energy, to work with patterns in a book, it doesn't draw through much energy. You really need to work with a three-dimensional form in this dimension, because we're 3D, and this can resonate when you have the proper forms and do proper things with them. You can bring energy in from the highest dimensional levels into this world, like an antenna. You can bring that energy in and work with that energy. So that's what we've done with the forms and the things that I'm making and working with right now. And so this is something called the I Connect and the E Pendant. And you see these patterns on them? People often ask me, well, what are these patterns? Tell me what the sacred geometry patterns, because we're used to thinking 2D. Here we are, three-dimensional beings, but we often spend a lot of our time with 2D thought. Like even energy, we all think of it as waves, but that's a 2D expression. Really, waves move in spirals, made because of that toroidal form I showed you. All waves move in spiral patterns, and they look like a circle when they're coming straight at you. But when you look at them from the side, it looks like the wave function. But see, we've been taught, we think in 2D, but we're three-dimensional beings. We need to start thinking 3D so that we can move to 4D, so that we can start accepting our 5D bodies. Because in 5D, that's where time shifts. That's what often psychics do, is they tune into these higher dimensions. That's how they see the future. Because the future is happening right now in the fifth dimension. The love, the unity that we are, is happening right now in that fifth dimensional understanding of reality. And that's where we're wanting to move, and that's where universe is trying to move us. And we're being pulled along, whether we like it or not, because the planet is shifting. NASA's measuring it. All the things that we know in this world are shifting energetically, and this body is going along with it. So by containing those three perspectives I showed you before in a circle, like what I'm saying here, when you have it in a circle stands for unity. It creates unity. So when you have those three different perspectives in a circle, it acts as a unity, a totality, that I can broadcast three-dimensional energy into a two-dimensional system. And so that's the only way to work with something that won't poke you when you hug somebody, and be flat, and still work with the energies that we're interested in working with right now. So I'm going to go back to this one and talk about some of these things. And can I have a couple of volunteers right now? A couple of people? Okay, why don't you come up? Why don't you come up? So, yeah. Can you stand there? Here, no. You can stand right here. Okay, I'm going to work with both of you with muscle testing. Here, just put one arm out. Now be strong. Okay, you're both very strong. It's like, say your name. Say, my name is...
My name is Jerry.
Okay.
My name is April.
Okay. Why don't you trade names? Say, my name is April, my name is Jerry.
My name is April.
My name is Jerry.
Okay, see, when you tell a lie, when you're not getting something that's good for your body, you get unhappy. So think of something that makes you unhappy or